Good evening, everyone. Back again, another edition of our Full Throttle podcast, talking a little NASCAR this weekend, coming up with Echopark Speedway, formerly Atlanta Motor Speedway. Still call it that. You'll hear me call it that. But Echopark is the sponsor and the title sponsor of that track now. So takes a little bit getting used to, but hey, we'll get through it. So we're going to take a little bit of time just kind of looking at some of the general info of the track. We're not going to get too far in depth. This track has gone through so many changes over the years. We could take a whole episode just on that. But we're going to just kind of look at some general info, look at the all-time winners, lap records, things like that. Stuff we do pretty much all the time on our preview. We'll get into, we have all three series racing this weekend. We have the truck series racing tomorrow. I'll give times when we get to each preview. We have the O'Reilly series also racing tomorrow. And then we have the Cup series, of course, racing Sunday night. We get 2 weekends in a row. We got night races. So I enjoy night races. Atlanta is probably second. It's in the top 3 on my favorite tracks. Bristol being number 1. I love Michigan. I just love the speed there. And then probably Atlanta. There's probably some others, but it's for sure top 3. And we'll just kind of go through it. We'll go through some of the close finishes that have happened there, at least one close finish and a couple of memorable moments, at least from my memory. Maybe if y'all have any memories of Atlanta Motor Speedway, you can throw them in the comments, and whether it's live or even on if you're watching it recorded, you can throw your comments in there about any memories or anything you remember about Atlanta Motor Speedway, and we'll definitely talk about them in the comments. And then at the end of the show, we're going to go ahead. We've got 2 weeks left. 3 of the after this weekend, we'll have 2, but 3 weekends left for the in-season challenge. We'll kind of look at some of the matchups coming up this weekend. But without further ado, let's just jump into it. So, like I said, it's gone through numerous name changes. It is, in its current format, is a 1.5 mile, we call it a quad oval, intermediate speedway. The track's hosted all kinds of different races. The capacity, I think this has changed, but the last capacity update I saw was 2015, showed 71,000. I think it's more than that now, but I couldn't find a more accurate estimate for that. Let's see. It is, I'm trying to look at I like to give the bankings and things. So in its current form, like we're talking about here, you're looking at 28-degree banking on the turns and 5 degrees on the 2 straightaways. The width of this track is what's a little different. It's apparently 52 foot on the front stretch, 42 foot wide on the back stretch, and 40 feet wide in the turns. That's now from 1997 to 2001. It was 55 with 24 degrees banking in the turns, 55 feet wide. So they've shrunk down a little bit. I'm one. This is a topic of conversation amongst most people that I've listened to, and other people I've talked to in the NASCAR world, talking about the configuration change. Some like it, some hate it. Used to be, it was just a track that just chewed tires apart. You would change tires 10, 12 times in a race. Anytime the yellow flag came out or you were changing tires. That was just that much of a big deal. With the reconfiguration, they've made it pretty much like a Daytona or Talladega, on steroids. It's the best way I can think to phrase it, to where it's pack style racing. The cars are super close to each other. The draft it's pretty much, if you've watched Daytona or Talladega, it's the exact same race. The only difference you'll get is those are 2 mile track, 2.5 mile tracks. This is 1.5 miles. So you're compacting everything. From what you see in Daytona and Talladega, you are shrinking 1 mile off of those courses and doing the same exact thing. So it gets a little crazy. There's going to be chaos. That's why I was really glad when NASCAR made the change on the schedule with the in-season challenge to move the in-season challenge to later in it, Atlanta later into the in-season challenge, because last year it was the first race and you had about 20 cars wiped out on lap 1 or 2. I think it was lap 1. You had about 20 cars just wrecked. And I'm talking like, think of it in basketball terms. Your number 1 seed playing a 16 seed. Yeah, well, the 1 seed was gone. I think half the field that was favored was wiped out in that wreck. So it was bad. And I mean, it is what it is. It's racing. It can happen at any track. But for it to be the first race of the in-season challenge and the first year you'd ever done the in-season challenge, didn't have a good start to it. But I was glad they moved it further down into the season. And we will, again, look at the bracket as we get further on. That's just some kind of general info. Everybody calls it Atlanta. It's Hampton, Georgia, just outside. I think it's like 30, 40 minutes outside of Atlanta. So, but everybody knows it is Atlanta, but now, of course, Echopark. So, looking at some of the all-time winners here, it's a long list. They've been racing here for a long time. The all-time leader with 9 wins, Dale Earnhardt. Kel Yarborough had 7, Bobby Labonte 6, Richard Petty 6, Bobby Allison 5, Bill Elliott 5, Jeff Gordon 5, Jimmy Johnson 5. Those through the top 8 of all time. If you're looking for the current active driver with the most wins, you go down and you've got William Byron, Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano all have 2 wins. And then you have people like Christopher Bell, Ryan Blaney have a win. Let me see. Denny Hamlin has 1. I know Daniel Suarez has 1. Tyler Reddick has 1. Those are your actives that have at least 1 win there. And we'll take a look at the winners, we'll say from 2010 forward. Now, remember, there's 2 races there most times, so you're going to have multiple winners. It's 2 people didn't win the same race. But then a few years from 2011 to 2020, you only had 1. 2020 might have had 2, but COVID kind of changed a lot of that. So, but from 2010, you had Tony Stewart, Kurt Busch, Jeff Gordon in 11, Denny Hamlin in 12, Kyle Busch in 13, Casey Kane, Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson went back-to-back in 15 and 16. Brad Keselowski went 17. Kevin Harvick went 18. Brad Keselowski took 19. Harvick took 20. They were just alternating wins there. And then starting 2021, we had multiple races again. Kurt Busch, Ryan Blaney. That's Kurt Busch, Kyle's brother. And then 2022 was Elliott and Byron. 23, William Byron, Joey Logano. 24, Joey Logano, Daniel Suarez. That Daniel Suarez is one I'll mention here in a few minutes. 2025, Chase Elliott, Christopher Bell, and then Tyler Reddick won the first race this year in Atlanta in the second of his 4 wins to start the season in a row. So, real quick, we got a little person in the crowd here. What's going on, Doug? Good to see you in the chat, Doug. We got to get together coming up pretty soon. We got some stuff we got to work on, but that's a different show, different time. Those are some of your all-time winners. You want to look at some of the lap records. I like one of these lap records. I'm going to say it last because I think it's the coolest one. From 97 to 2021 in the truck series, your record was 30 seconds, 0.861 by Kyle Busch. He did that in a Tundra. Shout out Tundra. Then you had Martin Truex Jr. in another Toyota Supra, ran a 30.854 in the Xfinity Series. And in those years, Kyle Larson set the track record in the Cup Series at 30.085. Again, a mile and a half in 30 seconds. That's pretty crazy. And it gets crazier as we come up to 2022 season when they've reconfigured it to now. In the Xfinity Series, you had Christian Eckes, or X, I think it's Eckes, went 30.402 in a Camaro, Chevrolet Camaro, in the Xfinity Series, that was. In the Truck Series, you had Derek Kraus, run a 30.09 in a Chevy Silverado. So if you look at the two different configurations, the Truck Series went pretty much 0.8 of a second faster, and the Xfinity Series went 0.4 of a second faster. And then the Cup Series lap record at this track with this configuration was set in 2024 in a Ford Mustang by Josh Berry, the guy whose hat I'm wearing. He went 29.36, so 0.7 faster on this configuration. So those are some of the records. There's other people that have raced there on road courses and things like that. If you're curious, on the Indy doesn't race there now, but when they did in 97 to 01, the fastest lap turned by an Indy car was 24.732 seconds by Billy Boat. So they're 6 seconds faster around the circuit than a Cup Series car. So I've never tried to say that NASCARs were faster than Indy cars, but I think the racing's better. I might be a little biased. So we looked at some of the lap records. I put that in there twice for some reason. No worries. This is just some close finishes and memorable wins. I mentioned Daniel Suarez in that same year he won 24. That was one of the most insane races I'd ever seen the finish to. It was Daniel Suarez, Kyle Busch, and Ryan Blaney coming off turn 4 pretty much nose to nose. And it was a matter of who was going to get the best push going forward. And by push, I mean which car behind is going to hit you the hardest to get you going the furthest without wrecking you. And Suarez got the benefit, and he beat Blaney and Busch. I'd have to go back and look. I think it was Suarez, Blaney, Busch. But the margin of victory between all three was 0.008 seconds. 0.008 of a second decided first through third place. So that one will stick out to me for a while. But when you talk about Atlanta, Echopark, you'd be remiss if you didn't mention, in my mind, the most memorable victory. Granted, my driver was Kevin Harvick for a year when he took over for after the passing of Dale Earnhardt Sr. at Daytona in 2001. And 3 races later, driving the Dale Earnhardt's car, which had been renumbered to the number 29, winds up dueling with Jeff Gordon in the final laps and beats Jeff Gordon to win his first race of 60 that Harvick would wind up winning. And the amount of emotion, fans crying, crew chief, people are just crying everywhere because of what it meant to the sport, because people were saying they shouldn't race, they shouldn't do this, that car shouldn't even be on the track, blah, blah. And I can remember Harvick's press conference when he went to him the week after it happened. And so he was answering questions, and he just straight up told them, don't expect me to be Dale Earnhardt, because nobody ever will be. And he wasn't. He was his own person. But to win that fast, it did a lot for the entire NASCAR world, to be honest with you. I know people that aren't Kevin Harvick fans that can remember that, and that still sticks in their mind that was one of the coolest moments in NASCAR history. So that one was really cool, especially when he finishes and he turns the car around doing kind of like a Polish victory lap, they call it, when you go the wrong way on the track. And he's holding up the three fingers out the window for the number 3 that Dale Earnhardt drove. And then he gets to pit road to head to victory lane, and every crew chief, every pit crew member lines pit road high-fiving him as he comes by. It was a really cool moment. If you go on NASCARclassics.com, you can even go on YouTube. You can find the full race video of that and go watch it. It's a good race too. Don't get me wrong. It's a really good race, but that one was memorable. And I think probably the next memorable one would have been 2018. Yeah. Would have been 2018. Mind you, on the old configuration, Kevin Harvick dominated this track. Didn't win every race, but he led more laps than anybody could probably even think about leading. And he wound up winning the second time at Atlanta in 2018. And he did the same thing. Took the car, drove down, flipped it around. Now, he was driving for Stewart Haas Racing at this point, but he still, for what it meant to him with the first one, he still flipped around and did the same three fingers out the window. You could see him wiping tears from his eyes. He was emotional during it. So, and I remember him coming on the radio saying, I've been waiting 17 years to do this. So, but like I said, he dominated that track under the old configuration to an extent that you can go watch any of the races, 2017, 2018, probably 2018, I think is when it really came out, with Jeff Gordon was up in the booth. Darrell Waltrip was up in the booth, and they started talking about the term, they called it Harvicking. It's what they said he was doing. He was just Harvicking, and nobody could figure out how to do it. Nobody else could do it. And they started talking about he's letting off people on the other radios, the other teams' radio channels, were like, Harvick is just playing with us. He's letting off the gas at the quarter mile. And if you look at Atlanta Motor Speedway, on the front stretch, you'll see two little cutouts. That's a quarter mile track they use for little like sprint car, midget cars and stuff like that. World of Outlaws, things like that. But the furthest little cutout you see would be the start. So they were saying he was letting off the gas there and then just pretty much coasting all the way into the corner before he would get on the gas again coming out of the corner. Saved his tires. He wasn't necessarily slowing the car down because he wasn't hitting the brakes. He was just letting the car coast. He was just speed up, coast. And then down the backstretch, he'd do it again. Not near as much on the backstretch, but he would do it to the point that Jeff Gordon pops up and says, Wow, that's early. I don't understand. Jeff Gordon, a 4-time champion of the sport, was flabbergasted by this. He was like, I don't understand this. So that was a real memorable moment. I think I've watched that race probably 4 or 5 times. I love that race too. But just some memorable things for me with Atlanta. Let's jump into our preview of the Truck Series. And as I said, we'll give you times. Again, all times are going to be Eastern. That's how they're put out. So that's what we're going to go with. So we'll look at the Truck Series. The Truck Series is going to practice. No partying for these boys. They're practicing at 9 a.m. tomorrow. And qualifying is an hour later, 10 o'clock. It says 10:05. It's 10 o'clock. We'll just go with that. That's on FS1, Fox Sports 1, for practice and qualifying. Then they're going to turn around and race at 1 o'clock. That's also going to be on FS1. FS1 will broadcast all Craftsman Truck Series. They have the exclusive rights to that series. So Fox might sometimes put it on Fox if it's like the Daytonas or the big races for them. But you can almost guarantee it's always going to be on FS1. All these races you can also hear on Sirius XM, satellite radio channel 90. And then they're also going to be broadcast. Some radio stations are affiliated with the NASCAR. I forget what they call it. The NASCAR Racing Network, I think is what it's called. They broadcast the Truck Series on the radio, but you can get it. And that's the broadcast you're going to get if you're on Sirius XM too. So looking at your preview for the Truck Series, the Truck Series has been off for a while. Not to say they're taking a back seat to anybody, but they're kind of taking a back seat to everybody. Your people to watch here are going to be your people to watch the next week they race. Caden Honeycutt driving a Toyota. Tanner Gray in a Toyota. Lane Riggs driving a Ford. He's the points leader. Chandler Smith in a Ford. Ty Majeski in a Ford. Ben Rhodes in a Ford. This is not a Chevrolet-dominated sport. Tyler Ankram's one to watch in the Chevy. So this is more a Ford and Toyota thing. Chevy pretty much has their fingerprints all over the O'Reilly series we'll get to. Christian Eckes is another one to watch in another Chevy, but I'm leaning towards, to be honest, if I'm picking a winner in this, I'm either going with somebody of Lane Riggs or Ty Majeski, Chandler Smith. I'm going with one of the Fords. Ford seemed to do really well on these style tracks. The one person that you would immediately put up in the front, but he's not racing this weekend in the Truck Series, is Corey Heim. So all the Truck Series drivers can take a sigh of relief and take a deep breath knowing they don't have to deal with him, because he would immediately jump to the front of this list. So that's where we're at with the Truck Series. If you want to just to know who's where, your point standings, this begins after race 18, and this is going to be race 14 for them. So after this weekend, they'll have 4 races left to lock into the top 10, which gets you into the chase. Lane Riggs leading the points. Caden Honeycutt, Chandler Smith. Gio Ruggiero is actually higher than I thought he was. He's in 4th in the standings. So another one you may want to watch in a Toyota. There's Christian Eckes, Ty Majeski, Ben Rhodes. I mean, out of the top 10, which the 10th would be Jake Garcia, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them are Fords. So half of the field in the chase format, if it ended right now, would be Fords. And then you have 3 Chevys, 2 Toyotas. Those are the people you're watching. You want a sleeper. my sleeper I'd throw out there would be, I'd have two: Stuart Friesen and where'd he go? What truck's he driving this week? There he is, Corey LaJoie. Corey LaJoie has a lot of experience on this style track and the style racing. Not necessarily as much in the trucks, but he's got the experience of how to do it, where to position myself. So he'd be a sleeper I'd watch for sure. So that's, not much else to it with that. Remember, early start time for them tomorrow, 9 a.m. Jumping over to the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Before we go to the people to watch, I'll run through the standings. So they start their race, chase, after race 24. And they're at 20. So after this week, there'll be 4 to go for them as well. And they take the top 12. So sitting in 12th, this right here, there is one Ford in this entire field, by the way, or two. Well, one is kind of a part-time thing, I think. Yeah, he's only had 2 starts. So there's only, none of the Fords have had more than 8 starts. So the Ford doesn't really even have much in this field. So this will be a total Chevy Toyota domination. And when you see the top 12, you'll understand that. Your leader, Justin Allgaier, Jesse Love, Corey Day, Sheldon Creed, Austin Hill. That's the top 5 in point standings right now. All 5 Chevys. 6th, Brandon Jones in a Toyota. Then 7, 8, 9, and 10 are more Chevys. Carson Quapple, Sammy Smith, Parker Retzloff, and Sam Mayer. And then 11 and 12 are Toyotas, Taylor Gray and Brent Cruz. Now, Brent Cruz is interesting. He has 16 starts. The others have 20. And he's still in 12th place. That tells you how good he is. To miss 4 races and still be locked in, still be able to be in the chase. So there wasn't any drop downs, as I call them, in either series. There's nobody coming from the Cup down to the trucks or Cup to the Xfinity Series. There's no drop downs this week. So, come on, you've got to go Justin Allgaier. My pick to win the race would probably be Austin Hill or Jesse Love. Austin Hill is so good on this style track. He's won Daytona numerous times. He's won, Jesse Love has won them. There's just something, Richard Childress Racing in the Xfinity Series has something going on right with this style of track for sure. So you're going to lean. Those guys are going to be your favorites. Your Allgaiers, Love, Hill. You're not going to count out a Sheldon Creed, a Corey Day, Brandon Jones in the Toyotas, Taylor Gray, Brent Cruz in another Toyota. I would definitely consider him. This is one race this whole weekend of racing. There is no way I would ever place any kind of bet on somebody to win this race. It's too much of a blind luck. You have to miss the big wrecks, and there's going to be big wrecks, so you have to miss them. Now, obviously, if you're in front, probably got a better chance to miss them. So that's why you lean Allgaier, Hill, Love, those kind of guys. I expect them to be near the front. If they don't qualify up front, I expect them to be near the front as fast as possible. So there's your auto parts series from O'Reilly's. We'll go through real quick. I didn't give them at the beginning, so we'll give them now. There's no practice for the Cup Series or the O'Reilly Series. They don't practice at these tracks. Part of it's because you get other cars in the track, somebody makes a mistake, they wreck, you get caught up in it. Now your main car's torn up for the race. So it's kind of a money thing, but drivers would probably love it. Owners probably would like it, but if they knew everything would be okay. So we'll go with the other. And I mean, it's drafting style track. There's not really a lot of practice you need for it. These guys have done this numerous times. So, but they're going to qualify tomorrow, right after the truck series qualifying at 10. When that's complete, then the trucks will, or the Xfinity series will roll out to qualify at 11 tomorrow. That's on CW. And then at 7 p.m. on CW is the race. And then they have the coverage is going to be by PRN radio if it's an affiliate near you. They also have an app, and Sirius XM again, channel 90. So that's where you can catch all that. Then we jump to the Cup Series, and this is going to be, I think, a telltale sign for what we're going to see coming down the stretch. I'll get more into that in a second. Let's go ahead and look at their schedule. So after the Truck Series race, which is at 1 p.m. tomorrow, then you'll have qualifying for the Cup Series at 4:30 on True TV, True Network, or PRN radio. And then Sunday, they're normally simulcast too. Qualifying is normally on Sirius XM. I don't know if they're not going to do it because they're taking a break after a race. I don't know yet. But it could be on there. And then at 7 p.m. Sunday, the 12th, you've got on TNT, the broadcast. You've got Sirius XM again. And you have driver cams. If you have HBO Max, they have driver cameras. You can watch what the driver's see. Pretty cool view if you're checking out NASCAR for the first time. Kind of gives you an idea of what these guys deal with, especially on a track like this where they're literally this far away from each other and they're hitting each other down the straight. They're literally hitting each other. So, and then PRN again for the radio if you're affiliated. So, this is to me a make or break race. This is going to tell me, is Ford going to turn a corner, or are they just really behind the eight ball trying to figure this out? Ford has been struggling. They have a win this year. Ryan Blaney got a win in Phoenix, which if you know Ryan Blaney and you know Phoenix, you understand why. In fact, I think my wife has a shirt that says the Phoenix Wizard. He only has that title because Kevin Harvick's retired. But it's not been a good year for Ford fans. Lots of struggles. Hasn't been a good couple of years, actually. They did okay last year, got better. This year's been really bad. But this is the kind of track that Ford normally does really well at. These drafting tracks. There for years, they were, when they went to Daytonas, Talladegas, even Atlantas, it was nothing to see 8 Ford, 9 Fords in the top 10 after qualifying. It just wasn't. It's just how it was. So we're going to see what happens with that. That's one I'm looking forward to this week. How do the Fords perform? But, I mean, you want drivers to watch. Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, even Austin Cindric does well on these tracks. Chase Elliott has won here. William Byron's won here a couple of times. You know, those are your people to watch. The other people you're going to watch, anybody that drives a Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota, or a 2311 Racing Toyota. Any of those, along with the others I mentioned, are ones to watch for. Sleeper picks for me in this, Daniel Suarez. I know he's won here before, but he's not somebody you think of winning consistently. Having a really good year this year. We'll talk about the standings here in a second. But my other sleeper pick is Josh Berry. This is the kind of track with Ford. If he qualifies well, even if you don't in this track, you can come from the back to the front. But that's my main sleeper is Josh Berry. This is a track he's led numerous laps in Daytona, led numerous times at Talladega, gets caught up in a wreck. Normally not his fault, by the way. Most of the incidents this year aren't his fault. But this is that track that can just kind of right the ship. So I'm not saying Ford's going to win it and go on a dominant run to the end of the year. I'm just saying it could give a little bit of, okay, we're figuring something out. So we'll see how it plays out, to be honest. I'm not real sure, but I'm looking forward to a good run from the Fords this weekend. So we go look. The chase in the Cup Series begins after race 26. This is going to be race 20 coming up. So, you got 7 more to go before the top 16 advance to the chase battle. And this is going to get real interesting, guys. The cut line is 16th, which is Eric Jones with 353. He's 353 points behind Denny Hamlin, who's the point leader. So he has 411 points, we'll put it that way. Ryan Preece is in 17th, but he's only 4 points behind Eric Jones. So if Eric Jones finishes 30th and Ryan Preece finishes 25th, if they don't, either one of them get stage points. Preece will then leapfrog Eric Jones. So every position is a point. But then behind that, you've got Joey Logano, who is, what is that? That's 16 points behind 16. AJ Allmendinger, 16 points behind 16. Brad Keselowski is 19 points. So this is, with that many races to go, this whole thing could shuffle. And if a driver down below 16th goes on a run of winning 1 or 2 races, could vault himself right up in there. But we'll take that one step at a time. So, excuse me, as of right now, your 16 drivers that would be Eric Jones, Austin Cindric, Shane Van Gisbergen, Bubba Wallace, William Byron, Daniel Suarez, Christopher Bell, Carson Hocevar, and I'm counting upwards from 16, by the way. Chris Buescher, shout out Prosper, Texas. Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Ty Gibbs, Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, and Denny Hamlin. So we're looking at, out of the top 16, you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of the 16 are Toyotas, 6 Chevrolets, and 3 Fords. Now, I mentioned the cut line. That cut line has 3 Fords sitting right on the outside of it. So this whole, 6 Chevrolets, all this, that could totally change. I fully expect Denny Hamlin and Tyler Reddick are pretty well locked into this thing. So is Ryan Blaney pretty much. Chase Elliott probably is. Kyle Larson's probably almost locked in. Chris Buescher's close. A good, strong run here would probably lock him in. Briscoe, probably the first one that still has a lot to worry about would be somebody like Christopher Bell, to be honest, in 10th. I mean, a lot could. I could be wrong with some of the others I've mentioned are locks, but I think they're pretty well secure based on how they've been running all year. But if you're in, say, 10th place back, you need solid runs the rest of the regular season. So That's the standings. That's what we're looking at going to this week. That's what I'm looking forward to. Those are my predictions. My prediction to win this race, I'm going to go Joey Logano to get a win. I'd love to see Josh Berry get a win, but I'm going to go Logano to get the win. And that probably means if you're a Logano fan, you're probably knowing he's going to wreck pretty soon. So that's where we're at with that. Now let's go look at some of our matchups real quick on the in-season challenge. We are in week 3. Yeah. So this is the 3rd week. And I'm trying to get the bracket to pull up a little bit better, but not having any luck with that. So either way, so we're pretty much in the quarterfinal round. We got 2 rounds left after this. Your first matchup is Alex Bowman and Todd Gilliland. This is a tough one because Gilliland's in a Ford and they front row does pretty well at this style track. I'm going to lead Bowman, but very, very slim. We've got some killer matchups this week, by the way, which you'd expect if form holds. In the bottom half of that bracket, you have Chase Briscoe paired up with Chase Elliott. So it's the Chase. Man, Elliott's good here. Briscoe's run well here. He's in one of the JGR Toyotas. Elliott's with Hendrick. I have Elliott winning the whole bracket, so I have to go with Elliott here. I'm not confident in it, but I'll take Elliott. On the other side of the bracket, oh man, teammates going at it. Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell. I'm going to take Christopher Bell here. Denny Hamlin has had some struggles at Atlanta. So a lot of it's because he likes to kind of just let the chaos happen and kind of will drop to the back. And then something happens and he shouldn't have dropped to the back. But I'm going to lean Christopher Bell with the upset. I call it an upset because Christopher Bell was the 10 seed going into this and Hamlin was the 2. So I'm going to lean Bell. Again, not super confident in it. Really, this one, I know where I'm going with this one. I'm definitely not confident in this one because this is a toss-up. Both of these drivers are really good at this style of racing. William Byron has won the Daytona back-to-back. Same style, like I said, just a little bit more compact. And Ryan Blaney is in one of the Penske Fords that is always really good at this track. I'm going Blaney because I have Blaney and Elliott in the final. So I'm going to lean Ryan Blaney here. But again, you got some matchups. And if you'd have told me getting to this round that the 2 Fords left standing would have been Blaney and Gilliland, I'd have believed you on one of them. But I wouldn't have picked Todd Gilliland here. I didn't have Alex Bowman here. But because the first race was a road course in Sonoma and Tyler Reddick's power steering had issues and he finished like 4 or 5 laps down, that's how Bowman advanced. It happens. It's racing. Things break. So our picks are going to be Bowman, Elliott, Bell, Blaney. I should have picked Briscoe. Then I could have had the 4 Bs going advancing. But it is what it is. We're going to go with what we've got. So those are my predictions for the weekend. Like I said, drop your comments. Anything you remember of Atlanta, any memorable moments or any of the ones I mentioned that you remember, any other ones, throw them out there. Let me know what you're looking at this week. Let me know who your driver is. If you comment, let me know who your favorite driver is. Let me know, who you think, who's your picks to win. And we'll reconvene later, and then we'll definitely do a recap on probably Monday. I'm going to try to get my review show up Monday. Might jump back on again since the race is at 7. Might jump back on Sunday afternoon or just maybe an hour or so before the race with setting my fantasy lineup, since we'll have qualifying all done. Set my fantasy lineup and kind of show you my predictions that way. So y'all go like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell for everything you see scrolling the channels at the bottom. And, like I said, drop your comments. Other than that, enjoy the race weekend, and we will see y'all next week.